As I said, I used to watch film. Then we had cassette players. I remember I recorded Spider-Man, the first version, on a cassette player, and I listened to it and I tried to transcribe.
Welcome to another season of I Taught English Abroad, where we cover a range of topics from the world of TEFL. This podcast has it all, from passport stamps to recruitment, tips for teachers who want to be internet sensations, finding accommodation in far-flung locales, and so much more. Subscribe now so you don't miss any new episodes. How determined does a person have to be to achieve their goals? How highly must the odds be stacked against you for you to give up? Sarah Alami, an English teacher from Iran, couldn't have had a more difficult road to where she is now. She's the co-founder of an Iranian English language school, teaches online to students around the world, and has a massive social media following. But nothing about her background, how she learned English, would make you think any of what she's achieved should be possible. This episode of I Taught English Abroad came up against some issues: time, software, audio quality. But in spite of a couple of rough moments, we're proud to bring this to you. Here's Sarah's story. Welcome back to I Taught English Abroad, and I'm delighted to say I'm here with Sarah Alami, who's based in Iran and is an international English teacher. Sarah, how are you doing today?
Great, thanks. How about you?
I can't complain too much, and as I was telling you before, and it's not just flattery. Like, we are so delighted to have you on this podcast, and yeah, I think it's going to be a really fascinating conversation. So I just mentioned there, you're based in Iran, and that's where you grew up. So tell me about your upbringing. Where specifically in Iran did you grow up, and was English spoken in your household?
Okay, so before I start, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to this podcast. And regarding my upbringing, I should say I was born in Ardabil. Ardabil is a city located in the northwest of Iran. It means a holy place. I mean, the word Ardabil means a holy place. And it is a home to a World Heritage Site, Sheikh Safiuddin Khanagah and Shrine, who was the founder of Safavid dynasty.
Right.
And I was born in a family, quite a big family, in a family of 6. I had 3 other siblings. And as far as I remember, when I was 8, because of my father's job, we had to move to another city in the north of Iran. So when I was 8, we moved there, and I just spent, let's say, the best years of my childhood there. Mm-hmm. When I was 9, I decided to study English. I went for it, but I don't know, it didn't appeal to me. So I quit. And as English is taught in secondary school, I mean, it starts in secondary school officially. I didn't study before then. When I was back to Ardabil at the age of 13, I was kind of interested in learning English and knowing more. But in my family, there was no English word spoken. My mother is a housewife. My father is a master carpenter. So their English wasn't really good. We used to speak Farsi. And as we went, we just moved back to Arabic. We also spoke Azerbaijani, which is our language. I mean, I can speak Azerbaijani, the language which is spoken in Arabic. So other than that, we didn't speak English at all, but I really liked it. And as we started studying it at secondary school with ABC and stuff like that, I got more and more interested in it.
That leads me really, really nicely into my next question, because I've noticed on your Instagram page, and we'll get to your Instagram because you've got so many followers, it's incredible. There are some pop culture references on your Instagram, some Western English-speaking pop culture references on your Instagram. I'm just wondering, how much English language content and culture were you sort of able to consume growing up? Like, was there anything, on the TV that was in English, or did anything like that kind of come through?
Not, I can say nothing really on TV. But as I was so interested in different languages, and I've always been crazy about languages and music, I used to watch Indian and English films then. I used to get them on CDs. And get them on CDs and watch them as a teenager. And I also really like to learn some chunks, phrases, and words here and there. I also could speak a little bit Indian back then, but not anymore because I've lost my interest in those kind of films, really. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I learned, honestly speaking, I learned about the culture through songs and music and films. I remember then modern talking songs and also Christopher was so like trendy, and I still, I'm still a big fan of them, and I listen to their songs still. But I learned English with those songs then. As we got a computer, we got a PC. I started chatting online. In Yahoo chat rooms with English all around the world. Yeah. And I had lots of fun. I learned a lot. We just shared our cultures, costumes, and traditions. We talked about different stuff together then. So it started that way. And I was so impressed by the language, by its rhythm and phonics and stuff like that. So I started writing kind of poetic sentences, short poetic sentences in English here and there. And I started, actually, English was taught at high school. I was the best student. And I wanted more. I just wanted to learn more, to know more. So I looked for a private institute or English school, but I couldn't find any. Finally, I could find an art school in which there was an English class held. And, I was the only girl in that class, 14 boys, and I was the only girl because I really wanted to learn more, as I said. I was more and more curious. So I went to that class and I started learning English out of school like that. And so as the story went on.
Well, I mean, there's so much there. I especially didn't expect Chris de Burgh to get a shout out on this podcast episode. I've got to be entirely honest. That's amazing. So yeah, you talk about kind of learning through music and through films, and especially in music, especially in English lyrics, there's a lot of kind of idioms and there's phrases, and I suppose in some cases there's cliches. But that's something that you talk about on social media, and clearly it's something that you teach with distinction now. But how tricky were idioms and dialects in your own English learning journey? Was that like quite a hurdle to get past? Because I imagine for people for whom English isn't their native language, it can be really confusing.
Yeah, definitely. In Iran, most students go to private English schools or English institutes to learn English. Because at school, we only learn some short conversations, some phrases, their translation. So it is normally taught based on grammar translation method, which is boring and you cannot use them really. We don't learn much at school. And most of us learn through joining classes. And regarding the idioms, I believe that learning idioms and phrases is the only way, and using them actually is the only way that can help you sound natural. I always tell, as a learner, I used to tell myself that try to copy whatever they say, try to learn. As I said, I used to watch films, then we had cassette players. I remember I recorded Spider-Man, the first version, on a cassette player, and I listened to it and I tried to transcribe whatever I had and repeat and again record myself. So these were things I did. And I tried to learn those chunks, phrases, idiomatical expressions to sound natural. And this is what I always tell my students. If you learn idiomatical expressions, phrases, collocations, you sound natural. I never tell them to sound like a native because we cannot sound like a native because we have our own mother tongues. So we have to try to learn things that can help us communicate naturally, okay? Be real. So that's what matters. So it was really difficult and tough for me, as I just mentioned, what I did, recording, then, I don't know, transcribing. You can imagine how much time it took of me. But that's one of the reasons that, let's say most of the time I get a compliment like, you really sound, where have you been? Have you ever been to UK? Where do you live? Sometimes they don't believe that I'm based in Iran. But I have done a lot of work. I've tried so hard to get here. And I'm proud of that. Learning idiomatical expressions could also help those who want to sit for IELTS, TOEFL, OET, different tests, it can help them improve their score. And as I'm preparing learners to ace their test, so I have to do my best in this regard, and I have to work on this topic and this issue a lot. Another point is that I believe that English is changing and adapting every day. So there are some phrases and idiomatical expressions which were like common several years ago. Like, as far as I know, and as far as I have just asked my friends, different colleagues I have around the world, raining cats and dogs were like very common several years ago in UK. But nowadays, it's not used very often. Instead of that, they usually say, I don't know, it's pouring, it's showering. So you have to keep up to date. It's not that you say that I can speak fluently and that's it.
I mean, that's the reading cats and dogs thing is a really good example. I mean, were there either based on sort of listening to and transcribing Spider-Man or kind of through your later learning, was there a particular turn of phrase or idiom that you just were like, what could that mean? There's no translation for this. Like, was there anything that like particularly came up?
Definitely. But honestly speaking, doesn't come to my mind right now. But there are always. So not about Spider-Man really, but there is one which can be kind of considered as a proverb also. For example, in English you say once bitten, twice shy, but we have the same like phrase or idiom in Farsi, which if we want to translate word for word this phrase once bitten, twice shy, it won't have the same meaning, but the equivalents, they are each other's equivalents, and the use is exactly the same. But it doesn't make sense if you translate word for word.
Yeah, that's the thing. And there's so many of them, and they're so, common in typical conversation. So, that's your dedication to learning English is just, I mean, it was second to none. And so that obviously leads you to where you are now, in a sense. When did you decide that you wanted to teach English, and what qualifications did you attain to kind of get to that point? Can you talk me through that stage of your career, just right at the beginning?
Yeah. That's a great question. So how it started is really funny and kind of weird because, as I got my diploma, it is really funny, let me tell you. I got my diploma and I passed, let's say, there is an exam in Iran taken as you're 18, as you get your diploma to enter university. It's called Concours. It's a university entrance exam. And I passed this test and I was supposed to study English language translation at university. But it was the end of the summer and my university was supposed to start at the beginning of winter. So I had like 3-4 months to go. And I was always active. I just wanted to do something. So I decided to be financially independent. So I kept on with my English classes. There was a big institute then in Tehran, and it opened one of its branches in Ardabil, my city. So I started continuing my English classes there. And I noticed that they are hiring secretaries. So I talked to my mom and I said, Mom, I want to be let's say financially independent, and I want to do something before I start university. She said, okay. And then it was my first day of work trial. I went upstairs to do something, and on the first day, I saw one of my favorite English teachers there. He was also surprised to see me. Hey, Sarah, what are you doing here? And I just told the story. And he said, wow, your English is really good. We need teachers. We are going to hire teachers for, let's say, toddlers and children. Why don't you just sit for the test? There was a test. I said, and I just accepted it. I was so surprised and said, yeah, why not? It's a new opportunity. Who knows what's going to happen next? Then I sat for OPT test. I went for a TTC. I passed my demo and I became a teacher there. And I was like full-time teacher, honestly. I had like 9 to 10 classes per term. And almost 25 students in each class.
Goodness me.
Yeah. So it was it was amazing. And then I started to move up the career ladder, let's say. Within the first year, they were hiring adult teachers. I sat for TOEFL paper version, and I got 620 then. I did my best, actually. And I started teaching to adults as well. And I started with teaching course books, True to Life, which is an American course book. So my teaching and my English learning process was all in American, not in British at all.
Wow, we're going to hear so much more about your fascinating career. We're just going to take a quick break and we'll be back with Sarah Alami.
Feeling inspired? Fancy trying something completely new? Well, make your best move yet by signing up for a TEFL course with the most highly accredited provider on the planet. Here at the TEFL org, we offer a range of online and classroom courses that you can study at your own pace. All of our courses include top-of-the-range teaching materials and come with dedicated tutor support from experienced and highly qualified TEFL experts. And what's more, we'll give you money off to do it. Just enter the code PODCAST at checkout to get 50% off any of our internationally recognised TEFL courses. And that includes our best-selling 120-hour Premier online course. With that code, you'll not only get 50% off, but you'll also get a free lesson plans pack. Within a matter of months, you could be a qualified TEFL teacher, out there exploring the world, or working to your own schedule from home as an online English teacher. Just use the code PODCAST at checkout to get started.
And we're back with Sarah. So can you tell me about if I'm mispronouncing this, I apologise, but the Adib language school. So you kind of hinted at it before, but how involved were you with the foundation of that school, and how has your role developed all over that time? Because you talked about sort of moving up the career ladder and teaching adult learners, but on your LinkedIn, there are so many different roles kind of within the one job. So can you tell us about that?
Sure. Actually, as I just mentioned, I started teaching in a private school. It was it was called Quiche Institute, and it was one of the branches in my city. But after 2 years of teaching, my husband and actually my husband is also a great English teacher. My husband and I decided to make a tough call to establish our own English school.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And we chose the name Adib. Adib means a man of letters in English. And for this, we needed a license from the Ministry of Education. And because my aunt was a high school principal then, I asked her for help, and she just got the license for us. And with her help, we could establish our school. And when we were in Quiche Institute, the last year, both of us, we were favorite teachers there, and popular. So people came to sit in our classes, really. For example, does she have a class? We want our children to be in her class or in his class and stuff like that. So we had I can say, considering the number of classes we had like 500, 600 students in our classes. But we decided to start from scratch. We didn't tell anybody that we are going to establish our own school. So we just established it, and we started with only 50 students. We worked full time. We went there very early in the morning, at 8 in the morning, and we finished late at night. We didn't even take a lunch break. I remember that my mom used to cook lunch for us and send it. Send it. So we had lunch at work together. It looked like it looked like a baby, then, and how we brought it up. And before the pandemic, we had 3 branches. We had we hit more than 1,500 students, English learners in our branches. And so it was a blast, and it was a great achievement.
That's incredible. And I can only apologize for my ignorance in terms of you and your husband actually starting the school. So that involves so much. It involves so many different kind of activities and parts within your job. What would you say is your favorite aspect of your role as the sort of co-founder of that school? And what did you enjoy most? Because obviously there's a teaching aspect, but were there any sort of other parts of the job that you thought, yeah, I'm actually really good at this. If I wasn't a teacher, I could have done this.
Okay, that's so nice of you to say that. From a teacher, having a school, from a teacher, I turned into a supervisor, a manager, a teacher trainer, so different responsibilities, integrated. So as I love teaching, I think the main, let's say, similarity, something they all have in common is teaching and learning. I've always believed that if you want to be a great teacher, you have to be a great learner. So teaching and learning is not, they are always integrated. You cannot just take them apart. You can separate teaching from learning. They're always together. You are a teacher, it means you are a learner. You're always a learner. So I try to manage, all of them, but I couldn't have done all these things without the help of my husband. Honestly, he's been a great support. He's been always there for me. And he's encouraged me always whenever I felt down, or like sometimes it happens, you feel disappointed, but he was the only person who always believed in me. And so far I could have been, let's say, manager.
So, tell me about, obviously there's, as you pointed out, there was huge kind of demand for an English language school, where you were based. So what kind of, obviously you've hinted at it as well that, English is taught in schools, and particularly schools. Overall, as someone who's co-founded a school, what would you say is the appetite for English learning in Iran? And you talked about kind of American materials as well, but obviously there's a social political situation we won't get into. But what's the overall appetite for learning English, would you say, within Iran?
Actually, it is growing day by day, because most of students, as far as I have lots of them. I'm working, and we have our own English school. It has been growing and improving. There are lots of students who want to just apply universities abroad. They want to further their education, so they are looking for opportunities to improve their lives. So most of students around me, they are having a plan to take the IELTS test, or there are, like, as I'm working with, let's say, practitioners, general practitioners, dentists, and pharmacists, they all also want to emigrate to, let's say, have more opportunities in their lives. So it has been growing further than what I thought could be. But yeah, that's how it looks right now. And what is really interesting is that students and learners are just, they think that passing the test is what matters. They don't really think about being able to communicate naturally or speak fluently. They want to learn in order to pass the test, which is a goal, could be considered as a goal for them, because it can help them to, as I said, to just in their higher education. But generally speaking, as they move there, how can they communicate? How would it be possible for them? So this is something that they have to focus on first, to improve their knowledge of English, to get to know the culture, and also learn about the test.
In terms of the sort of the teaching talent that you're able to bring in, and I'm not going to ask you for an exhaustive explanation of the visa process or anything like that. Don't worry, I wouldn't do that to you. But in terms of the teaching talent, is it generally, teachers who have learned English from within Iran, or, are you able to hire teachers from outside of Iran? What are the kind of rules there?
Actually, most of the teachers here, I mean, we have some teachers in our school. It depends on where you're working. For example, when I became an English teacher, they didn't look for like diplomas, teaching related diplomas or documents and stuff like that. But nowadays, most English schools, they look for documents related to teaching. I mean, they try to hire those who have studied teaching at university, or they have the knowledge related to this language. But what we do in our school is not like that. We might have teachers with like engineering diploma or certificates. But what we do is that first of all, for us, what is important is their English knowledge. And then they go through a TTC, which is a teacher training course, and they learn different methodologies, techniques. They get to know the books and stuff like that. And they have teaching practices and demos in the end. So the performance finally is what matters to us. But in some other schools, no, they look for, I don't know, IELTS score, for TOEFL score, even, especially in the capital city, Tehran. And in the capital city, there are, I just know some of them. Some schools hire teachers, let's say international teachers who are based in other countries. There are several schools I know in Tehran. They have like Canadian teachers, British teachers, not like those who reside in Tehran really, but yeah, they have online classes with them, and it has become really possible nowadays. But back in the days that I was a student, no, we couldn't find native teachers really.
So you've not only have you managed the school and you taught within the school, but you've also done some online English teaching. And since 2021, you've worked online for an English school in Turkey, if I'm right in saying. So what inspired that move, and how invigorating is it to focus kind of solely on the teaching when, in your sort of primary role, there's other bits, there's administration, there's all that kind of stuff. How invigorating has it been to just be dialed in on delivering classes?
Well, when did I start? Good question. When did I start teaching online? Before the pandemic broke out, I just had a request from one of the online teaching websites in Iran through my Instagram, because I was very active. I was going live with teachers based in different countries. So they sent me a direct message. Would you like to work with us? And I always try to challenge myself. And when these kind of opportunities just happen, I never say no. Because it means I'm busy. I try to challenge myself. I try to see what is in teaching online. I wanted to know, really, I wanted to learn more. Because I believe that, as I just mentioned before, as a teacher, you should be a good learner. So I wanted to learn more. I wanted to see how it looks like to teach online. And as the pandemic started, I had to teach online. I had to turn my classes to online classes. And I'd been prepared for it months ago, because before it broke out, I started teaching online. I went through different workshops to get to know what it is real, what I need to know to just deliver that lesson perfectly, virtually, like a physical, let's say in a face-to-face class. And regarding teaching online, I've been working since 2021. I've been working with a Turkish school called New York Studio, which was founded in 1998, if I'm not mistaken. And I was like, I applied for the position via my LinkedIn, and I received an email. And because I'm a Turkish learner, it was kind of challenging for me. I really wanted to learn more about their culture, their custom, and it is kind of close to Azerbaijani language that I can speak. So, and their music and their songs are amazing. And I, as I'm into music and singing, I sing Turkish songs as well. So I just wanted to learn more, to just be in that environment. So I just went for an interview and I started teaching. And since then, I've had Turkish students And it's really amazing that you can share your culture, and sometimes you learn how close it could be. There's the similarities, the differences, and this is one of the aspects of English teaching I love. It's not only just going to a class and delivering the lesson and just leaving it. No, it is living with your students and learning about their lives, their cultures, and different aspects of their, let's say, everyday life.
And that really neatly leads me on to the next question, which you've done a few times now, which is fantastic podcast guesting, by the way. Credit to you. But yeah, I was going to ask, you train teachers, you prepare students for IELTS. You've talked about the opportunities that, IELTS, TOEFL, that they can bring. You teach English as a second language. Do you have a favorite type of lesson, or do you have a favorite kind of, moment within teaching? And is it, as you say, learning about other cultures and kind of getting an idea of what students' lives are like? Is that the kind of key motivation for you? Is that what you enjoy most?
Exactly. So, what aspect of teaching I like? I like helping students improve their general English, and I really enjoy seeing that spark in their eyes when they are happy, when they learn something new, when I point out their mistake and error, and I can see the awe in their face. Oh, I didn't know it. And the pleasure they get after passing their test, the messages, everything, all these things is like the thing I love about teaching. It is what do we call it? It is a living thing. Teaching is a living thing, and teaching English means living the language. And that's what I do in my classes. I try to live the language, and I try to learn and teach the culture. And another thing that I really, really do like is teaching pronunciation. I really enjoy telling them about connected speech, intrusive sounds, and the surprise you see in their eyes is amazing. I really like those moments.
That's fantastic. And we're just going to take another quick break, and we'll be right back with Sarah.
Are you looking for a weekly guide to what's going on in the TEFL world? Do you want some advice on everything from job interviews to underrated TEFL destinations? Well, the TEFL.org blog has it all. Every single week, we tackle some of the biggest questions in the TEFL industry. Stay up to date with the latest trends in English teaching, find tips to make your next job application your best yet, or get inspired and read about the experiences of TEFL.org graduates teaching all around the world. Whether you're brand new to the industry or you've seen it all, we can guarantee an interesting read each week. To find out more, go to tefl.org/blog. That's tefl.org/blog.
And we're back again with Sarah. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, because we found you on social media, and your Instagram following alone is enormous. I actually didn't write down a number because it might have been even bigger by the time that we actually got into recording. But I wanted to ask, obviously you've put the hard graft in, and you've put a real emphasis on growing that social media. But you kind of hinted that out earlier. How has it opened doors for you in terms of your career beyond, the opportunity in Turkey? Like, have you been able to meet other teachers? Is it sort of, as I say, open doors for you?
Yeah, as I just mentioned before, with the pandemic broke out, a bigger arena was opened, and I could connect to teachers in every corner of the world. I went live with them. We discussed different aspects of teaching and learning, different issues that learners had, and I could really get students based in different continents. I cannot say different countries like in Asia. I could get students from Canada, from UK, from Australia, so from all the continents out there. So it was a great chance for me. It was a great chance. And I believe that through teaching online, we are limited to borders at all. You know, before the pandemic started, I was just limited to teaching face-to-face classes, my students, and I could share my knowledge and my experience with the students based in my city only. But having taught online, I've been connected with people not only in other cities in my country, but also in other countries, in other parts of the world. You know, through teaching online, we are not bound to places and borders. You know, my students can sit in their office and join a class. So they can save time. Somehow they can save money as well. So it is like amazing. I'm really, really, I really think that the internet is one of the best inventions. I cannot imagine how would it look like without the internet. So can you imagine?
We wouldn't be here talking to each other, that's for sure. It's an incredible thing. So in terms of your kind of use of the internet, and you talk about there, you're kind of being exposed to, you know, people from all sorts of, all kind of locations, different continents around the world. Do you think that exposure to other kind of cultures and ideas and that kind of thing has improved you as a teacher?
Definitely. Why not? As I just pointed it out, the lives I started with other teachers were not like the placementist lives I'm having recently for the last, let's say, year or two. They were, in our lives, we went through issues. We found students have in our classes, the common mistakes, common errors, problems they have understanding, what aspects of English, what skills they found, let's say, difficult, challenging, how we could help. So I usually I would like sharing the topic and collected my followers' questions regarding the topic and asked those questions. And we shared our points of views, our attitudes and approaches towards those problems in our live sessions. And definitely, I'm so thankful to those teachers who participated and they joined my lives and shared their knowledge and their experiences.
That's great. And talking about other teachers, you know, you're obviously in a position where, yes, you do teach, but you hire teachers and you collaborate with other teachers. And I'm just wondering, when you do look to collaborate with other teachers, or when you are trying to hire a teacher, what skills and experience do you look for specifically? Is there anything, you know, do you have boxes that absolutely have to be ticked? Like, how does that work for you?
Actually, when I'm looking for collaboration, I'm just thinking of collaboration, I look for those teachers who are real. You know, they are real teachers. They are not business people, honestly speaking. Because we have, I don't want to blame them, but there are some teachers out there who look like teachers, but they're business people. So I look for real teachers, those people who care for learners out there, those people who share their knowledge, and they look for a professional development. They study and they are honest as well. And I check the content, their content, if I found their content interesting, and also those who have a bit of experience. I just don't want to judge novice teachers, but because I have taught for 20 years and I know that having experience doing something can teach you a lot. So I try to look for those who are experienced ones and have something to say in their field. And it doesn't really matter to me if they are native or non-native, as far as they are knowledgeable, they're friendly and approachable. That works with me.
This is a pretty big question, and it's, you know, I understand if it's a wee bit of a loaded question, and you don't have to answer, but it is one where I feel like you could give me a really fantastic answer. So, but you're not just a TEFL teacher. You know, you've co-founded a language school. You teach online. You have this enormous following. I just wondered, what advice would you give to young Iranian women and girls who want to have a career like yours? Because is it possible always, or?
It could be possible. there is nothing as impossible. I really like this saying. The word itself says, I'm possible. So if you really want something, you can achieve it. What you need to do is to put the effort, the time, and your dedication. You need to love what you do. And just be brave, be consistent and persistent. And don't get tired or exhausted. Don't get exhausted of trying, because sometimes there is a lot. It's a lot of burden on our shoulders. I know that we might have other responsibilities, but you shouldn't give up. And believe in yourself, and don't be afraid of being judged. Because there are some teachers out there, I'm sure, that they think that, I don't know, if I go live, if I make a mistake while speaking, I would be judged by my students, by my colleagues. I would say, don't worry, be yourself, be real.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer. And, I think it's fairly obvious to anyone who's spoken to you for even 5 minutes like we have today. But, you're obviously going to be a role model to a lot of people, especially kind of young Iranian women who want to be English teachers. How important is that to you? Do you take that quite seriously? And have you mentored other teachers to sort of follow in your footsteps, if you like?
Going throughout these, let's say, 20 years of teaching, I've learned a lot. I've trained lots of teachers. I've taught lots of students out there. I've counseled their families, helped them to learn, even the teachers. And, it has been really rewarding, even teacher training, even, teaching other people how to teach is like the as I mentioned before, the common point in all of them is the fact you are sharing what you have learned, the experience you have gained with others, sincerely, whatever and however it is. And I've always had messages on Instagram, on WhatsApp, Telegram, even teachers who I really don't know. They send me messages. They ask me, how did you get here? What did you do? How can I do this? And I'm always open to these kind of messages. I would like to share my knowledge with others, because if I believe that the knowledge you don't share, it's no good. You learn something, you have to share it with others. And that's what I really like. And I cannot name one teacher I've mentored, this teacher or that teacher, but there have been a lot of out there. And also my own English school teachers, they send me messages whenever, I'm open to questions, and they can approach me whenever they need to. And I would love to help. It's my pleasure.
Excellent. I mean, that really does come across in your social media as well. And we'll take things a little bit lighter at this stage. We'll talk about your social media again. You're a prolific poster, especially on Instagram, but your posts are always really high quality. Like, the production values for an Instagram account are extremely good. So how do you, kind of just going behind the scenes a little bit there, how do you maintain that level of quality? I mean, and how, in terms of like video production and like graphics and that kind of thing, how much work do you put into that? I just wonder, because it fascinates me.
Actually, it's been a great, it's been really tough. At first I didn't really know anything, and I'm still not really aware of the different kinds of, applications and like programs that can be used for designing and stuff like that. And for this, only this, let's say, a reason, I have a friend of mine who is a techie. Her English is good, and she's helping me with the design. And she's been helping me throughout these 6-7 years. And I'm so thankful to her. Without her, I couldn't have just done this. But regarding my, let's say, my logo, I just designed. I didn't design it myself. Also, another friend of mine helped me. But the color and the concept behind it was by me. I decided to choose blue and green. Blue is the color of trust. Green is the color of life. So we both go with learning a language. As I said, in order to learn a language, you need to live it. And you need to create trust so people can trust you. And doing all the stuff on Instagram, it has been really challenging, especially in the last couple of years, because Instagram is filtered for us. We need to connect a VPN, and I have tried to study the algorithm, the Instagram algorithm, and stuff like that. But it has been too tough, especially starting 2023. It has been a big challenge for me because I haven't been growing much as before, and I'm doing my best. The only thing I'm trying to do is to stay consistent.
Absolutely. And just before we get on to kind of our last sort of piece of advice and our last sort of big question, we touched on earlier on, using pop culture in the classroom, and that's something that you've done a couple of Instagram posts about. So how important would you say it is to use pop culture in a classroom? Because, we talked about Christopher, we talked about songs earlier on, that kind of thing. And how much easier is it now for kids learning English to use pop culture to learn the language? Like how dramatically would you say things have changed?
As I mentioned before, in order to learn the language and in order to be able to communicate naturally, you need to learn different phrases, idiomatical expressions, collocations, and you need to also learn about the culture, the customs, the traditions. And the course book we use, in all of them, we have some cultural lessons because, students out there are not aware of them. So they get to know them through the books. And it was like this before we were connected virtually. But nowadays that most students and English learners, they have got their own mobile phones, they're connected to the internet, they surf the net, they use Instagram, even YouTube. They already know a lot. I remember in the past, I used to, bring songs to the class, introduce singers, actors, but bring some materials to the class. But nowadays, the students, they are all aware of them. They know them. They share. Oh, teacher, have you heard the song of this singer? The recent song. It is a great hit and stuff like that. Have you seen this film? Have you watched this series? So they are already into it, and it makes learning English for them easier, but teaching for us more difficult and challenging.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. So yeah. So is it challenging in terms of having to keep up with the learners and what they're able to consume?
Yeah, exactly. You have to follow the news. You have to follow the celebrities' news. It's not only following the news on the broadcasting channels. So you have to know what is going on around you, because you are a teacher. You need to know a little bit more than your students. You have to foster language awareness,
It's slightly philosophical, but I like to ask guests this because I really do feel that you get to know a guest and their response to this. So what would you tell the young Sarah Alami? Like, would she be able to believe what you've achieved? What would you say to her?
I would tell her, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of where you are, how you have changed, and the achievements you've had so far. I've always been a go-getter. I have always been, whatever I wanted, I really wanted. I don't say wanted, because we want lots of things. There are lots of dreams and thoughts in our mind day by day, and we think we want them, but things that you really long for, I'm talking about them, I have achieved them so far. And I've always enjoyed the process, the journey, and I put my all in it. And I'm so proud of me and, like Snoop Dogg. Yeah, I'm proud of you. I want to thank me.
I never thought we'd get from Lady in Red to Snoop Dogg in one podcast, but Sarah, we've done it. We've managed it, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to repeat that. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate your company, and thanks for being on our podcast.
It was such a great pleasure. I really thank you for having me here. It was a great opportunity for sharing my thoughts and my experience with novice teachers, English learners out there.
You've been listening to I Taught English Abroad, a podcast series by the TEFL Org. To keep up to date with every episode, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your streaming platform of choice. And we love feedback, so feel free to leave us a review on any platform you like. For more information about the TEFL Org, or about teaching English as a foreign language in general, head on over to tefl.org. That's TEFL.org. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.